Hello, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Oriel and I'm on a mission to make my own alternative wardrobe. And if you are anything like myself, you are constantly looking for the alternatives to these, what I'm calling corporate slop sites. I am on a mission to take these very popular mainstream alternative clothing sites and find hand-knitted dupes, hand-knitting pattern dupes, so that I can create a version of my wardrobe that is exactly what I want, tailored to myself, through my own hobby in a sustainable way with high quality materials, exactly the way I like it, but that still reflects what is available and commercially trendy, and like still I get to participate in what's going on in the fashion world, if that makes sense. Now, it is so obscenely hot outside. For me, that means it's 90 degrees, and I am well aware. I'm well aware that we're doing a video on knitwear at a time when I can barely stand to have like this very skimpy little piece of clothing like barely draped on top of my body. But I have a whole list. Let's get into it. It's so disgusting. So if you see me like heaving, being like physically uncomfortable where I am, it's because it is just, it's like bad already and it's not even June. Obviously, you or me, like we know that these videos are just for the vibes and just for inspiration. I don't know how many of us are actually gonna go out and like find dupes for these things today, have a yarn and stash and like start knitting. If you do actually find something, please let me know and like write it down in the comments, share it with us. I think that'd be so cool and so sick. But for the rest of us, this is really a thought exercise in kind of deconstructing what we think of as like alternative clothing, and like where can we get it? Where does it come from? Where are the designers that are showing up and making stuff that is like alt person friendly? And is that like really a thing, or can you just knit anything in black and call it a day? And I think the answer is going to somewhat surprise us, and I'm surprising myself based on some of the designers that I've pulled here. I've looked for dupes based on how much time I've spent trawling through Ravelry, because I am certified obsessed and this is my special interest, so I have a very specific subject matter knowledge on like patterns that are coming out, but still I don't know everything. If you have a better alternative for anything that I'm mentioning here, please drop them down below. Ravelry pretty notoriously has a terrible search function, so if you don't know what something is, all the tags are so bloated that like it's really hard to find. So it's very, very possible and probably likely that I don't have the best dupe for something, but in as much as possible, I'm going to tell you what I think are dupes for these popular disturbia items. The first thing I have here is the Nave Cotton Striped Sweater. This is an $80 sweater, which to be fair is pretty steep given that it's 60% polyester. So 60% poly, 20% cotton, 20% acrylic, 3% wool, 3% polyamide. To me, and I'm going to look at natural fibers, I know that generally they're not always the end-all be-all, but when it comes to knitwear specifically, and not a performance fabric, and you're not doing like hiking and climbing, and you don't need it to be Gore-Tex, like for the most part, especially for hand knitters, I think we realize that natural fabrics we can take care of. We like them better for the environment. We like them better in terms of a luxury experience. For $80, I don't like that at all, right? And my dupe, as you may or may not know, is the Drift Sweater by Irene. This pattern is extremely oversized, but it has the same kind of concept and not exactly the same details, but I do think if you make it in the same color scheme, you get a very similar effect with the lace ripples all the way around, the lacy sleeves. Maybe you could shrink the overall size of the garment by knitting a smaller needle gauge, like going down a needle size, because I'm knitting the smallest version of this sweater, and it is 110 centimeters across the bust, as is if you hit it on gauge, which is pretty big. So I will say like this sweater, but just shrink it down, maybe like add another stripe or so. That works fairly well. My second dupe, which is similar, but again, not exact, is the Jean Sweater by Kolibri by Joanna. And this is a really similar kind of lacy, scallopy wave. And I like the idea because the fit seems a little bit closer. It's not quite as oversized. It's not as dramatic. And of course, you're looking at this Jean sweater and you're thinking this is like the brightest, most springtime coated, like adorable, cutesy, almost like Valentine's Day sweater, but I want you to imagine it in that more monochrome color scheme, and then skip every other main row and then do one more lace row in between, and you're going to get a better distribution of stripes versus lace, and I think that will work really, really well. So those are my two dupes for the Nave sweater. Next, I have the Nightjar Ombre Knit Sweater. Again, this is a heavier weight sweater, but at $75, it's 50% viscose, 30% poly, and 20% nylon. This actually has no natural fibers in it. I guess the viscose counts. What is that, like bamboo? or maybe it's just wood pulp. This is going to be a very heavy, slinky, drapey fabric. I actually don't think this would be terrible to actually dupe for the summertime. I think you could also use a viscose yarn for this. But obviously the central point of this is that beautiful ombre from top to bottom. I think the color scheme is very like disturbia coated. The fact that it even comes with a matching skirt, but I don't have a matching skirt pattern, so we're just going to talk about the knit sweater, which is the Color Rain sweater by Knitting for Olive, pernille Larsen. This, I think, is a pretty one-to-one dupe. Obviously, there's going to be more visible stitching on this one because, you know, one is machine knit on a very, very fine gauge, and this one is a bulkier knit, and definitely not appropriate for this weather right now. Like, I know that sweater is knit in wool, and to think about putting wool on my body right now is like physically making me gag because, again, I don't tolerate heat very well. It's extremely hot right now and I hate it. I hate it. I'm very miserable. But imagine, take a walk with me if you will, that you could potentially knit this in a viscose and maybe a cotton. You could do like a blend. I guess if you really were heat tolerant or this were like any other time of the year, you could do a cotton cashmere, you know, like a cotton merino situation, a cotton cashmere situation where you're blending a couple fibers together. I think that could be really lovely. And the way that the original designer has made this is actually pretty close to the color scheme that I think would work as a one-to-one dupe. Next, we have the Sophia button-up cable knit waistcoat. Now, this is a actually really normal looking waistcoat. I'm surprised that I found it as difficult as I could to dupe this out. Now, if you have another pattern, this is one where I'm like desperately seeking recommendations because it should be a very, very simple thing, which is just a simple little vest with a crew neck collar, buttons down the front, and some cables. I think there are 1,000,001 cardigans that have this design, but I couldn't find that many vests, which is like, again, Ravelry is either extremely broken, which we know it kind of is, or this is just actually not as popular as I thought it would be given the like broad appeal of that kind of thing. But I did find the Crail by Clow. I think this is pretty much there. The thing that I think takes it into a more alternative direction is really those kind of like dark sterling buttons, like the silver buttons, which I think always reads as like more alternative, which like yay for us cool tone girlies, the silver jewelry is working in our favor, and that really gorgeous deep dark rich black. But the silhouette is fairly normal, and the picot edge on the hemline is, or the armhole is really the only thing that the Crail doesn't have. But I recently learned that the picot edge is actually fairly easy to do. All you're gonna do is, let's say you wanna do a 1-inch rib, you're going to knit 1 inch of ribbing, then you're gonna do a yarn over, like a knit two together and a yarn over, I believe. And then you're going to knit another inch of ribbing, and then you're going to fold that in half, and your picot edge is going to be on the side. So I think you could genuinely just like add a picot edge to whatever your normal armhole is. So that's that. That's my recommendation for getting a nice plain classic waistcoat with a cabled front, and then just stick on some silver buttons and you have a dupe. And that they are asking $70 for a 57% polyester, 19% cotton, 18% acrylic, 3% polyamide, and 3% wool vest. So $70 for what is essentially 21% natural material. Again, a large, vast minority. I don't think that's good. I don't think that's worth your money. Okay, the next thing I have here is the Phelan Ladder Stitch Knit Cardigan. This is a $64 cardigan. It is coming in at around 52% cotton and 48% acrylic. So actually our first majority natural fiber product. But 50% cotton, 50% acrylic, that doesn't really impress me. Cotton and acrylic are not particularly expensive things to blend together, and especially if we're talking about fast fashion brand, I don't think they're using like Ultra Pima, Egyptian, long staple, mercerized cotton or anything that is like particularly lovely. But here I have the Carrie, which is, again, by Kolibri, by Joanna. This can be worn front or back, which I think is actually more versatile than the original product. I love the original, which is that like open bottom, kind of sexy cable front cross situation. But again, the Phelan ladder top, it has these like drop stitches, which are not included in the Carrie top. But I do think the fact that you can wear it front and back and have like a sexy little cable in the back or the cable in the front makes it very cool. And of course, if you wanted to keep it more close to the disturbia pattern, you could just not do the last twist and leave a little bit more of a V notch right at the bottom of the waist. So just have a couple of the cables down here, and then right at the true waist, stop doing it, and then have it flare out a little bit. And I think with a lighter weight yarn, you could get that really lightweight blousey effect. So that's my suggestion for this top. Now I have the Ravel Cotton Floral Printed Flare Cable Sweater. At $70, it's clocking in at 58% polyamide, 30% acrylic, and only 12% wool. Yes, that is a crazy, staggering like ingredients or composition lineup. It's just not ideal. I don't love this at all, especially for $70. I feel like we could do a little bit better than 12% wool. Again, a little bit like cringing at the idea of wearing wool right now, but again, I compiled this list like 3 weeks ago. I'm sorry about that. This is one of those sweaters that I think has a very stunning silhouette, and what it's doing in the disturbia sweater actually I think is cheapening it a little bit. I don't think that this is everyone's take. I'm sure some people will think that the little details are cute and whimsical and they're fun. But I think at this price point, given the materials, given the design, it's not looking whimsical in a like really tasteful, exquisite, hand done, refined, finished way. It's giving fast fashion, and it just looks a little bit sloppy. And for me, I would rather a piece be understated and sloppy than loud and sloppy. And so, although I don't have the like embroidery and everything, I do have the really beautiful original impression I have of the sweater, which is that really dramatic silhouette, those beautiful bell sleeves, and of course the cables. So I found the Lytham from Lily Kate Makes. Again, the way that she has styled her sweater makes it so obviously different. The vibe is, because if you imagine changing that for a different color to match the Disturbia version, or better yet, because I don't like that color that it comes in, it's like my worst possible color actually. But if you change it out for a different color, potentially like a black or a really nice charcoal or even a really beautiful blue, I think that could get you a really lovely traditionally alternative sweater that for the $70 you're asking could get you much further in terms of supplies if you're willing to hand knit. So that one would be mine. And of course, Lily Kate Makes has done nothing short of incredible in the knitting community. Everyone loves her work. Yeah, if you look into her history, absolutely fascinating. She can make a beautiful tailored garment, and of course it's no different for this beautiful cable knit flared dramatic blouse sweater. Next, I have the Evander Cosmic Astrology long line cardigan. This is an $88 long line cardigan, and I think it's because it is a like floor length thing. You will not believe this, but it's 62% viscose and 38% polyamide. And they want $90 for something that has literally no natural material in it. Make it make sense. That is absolutely unforgivable. I don't like that at all. It makes me sick to my stomach. Let's talk about the alternative. Now this is going to slightly be a cheat because I don't have anything that's exactly specific, but I have a very, very clear idea of what I think this could be modified as. So first, I think the no frills cardigan or something like that, right? Like a nice long cardigan that is just like plain in the body that goes all the way down. I'm also thinking of something like the sand cardigan, I think, aka Nora Knits made this in Noro, and I know that that went well. And of course the no frills cardigan, or the, right, is it no frills cardigan? That one goes all the way down to the floor, and Ali Knits Everything, or Ali Makes Everything, has already done that one as well. So these are both two full-length, floor-length duster cardigans that have been vetted by the community. I think the biggest thing here is that you want to make sure that you're knitting it in a somewhat lightweight cardigan, so that way it's not like just extremely heavy and like weighing you down. So something with a woolen construction, I guess, would be ideal. And even though, you know, they're making theirs in what what amounts to a bunch of plastic, right? Like viscose and polyamide, I guess you could make a viscose cardigan if you wanted. I think personally, as a knitter, that would probably be uncomfortable to knit and like not be very ideal, but most of this is just going to be stuffing it back and forth. It's going to be a very, very mindless project. So maybe in the summertime it would be nice to knit something that is quite cooling. And here's my alternative. I like the lacy paneled sleeves. I think that it actually adds a lot of flow and interest, and of course you can use any freaking lace pattern you want. Find a multiple of anything, right? So if your sleeve has 48 stitches all the way around or whatever, you can divide by 12 or 8 or 4 or whatever, and go in there and find a lace pattern that would work and just do the repeat all the way up. I just finished the Cecilia check pullover by Mipi the Label. I'm very, very fond of Famke and her work. This is the second time I've tested for her, so I'm partial to her, so I'm going to shout out her pattern, which is coming out this weekend. It's very, very soon, so by the time this video is up, it might be up. But I really enjoyed that lace panel. It was the first actual lace garment that I have ever done with like a traditional amount of lace. And the sleeves were actually a perfect place to do it. So I'm gonna actually put the plug in here for the Cecilia check pullover, specifically using the lace as a modifier there. And I think it's a short repeat. But the reason why I think it would be great is because sleeves on lace, it's like a smaller circumference, so it's easier to finish around and then be like, okay, I checked my work is good. Whereas when I'm knitting lace on like a full body, or especially a raglan where it's like really big and I'm doing the yoke of something, it's a lot of stitches. So if you mess up, there's a lot to go back and redo, and just it's very demoralizing. So in terms of having a dupe, I think this one works really well because you're paying a lot of money for a cardigan that is literally like, it's gonna cost them cents to make. This material is not expensive. And two, I think it would make for a very enjoyable knitting experience because like the body's gonna be super easy and then the arms are just gonna be lace and they're gonna go by really quickly. So for me, that one is a no-brainer. Definitely the knit version will be a million times better. Next, I have the Vesa Blanket Stitch Long Sleeve Knit Top. This is pretty much just a mesh, a mesh top. I think there's like 1,000,001 different mesh tops you could make. They are all going to be slightly different. It depends on what you're prioritizing. So as it is now, this top is 45% cotton and 55% acrylic for $55. That to me is, again, pretty steep for a cotton acrylic blend, not something that's super expensive to produce. And especially when it comes to lace, you're not using that much material when it comes to hand knitting it. So I actually think you could produce a 100% cotton mesh. This is actually 100% cotton mesh myself. Hey, shout out to the Rota top, Irene. But yeah, I think it's not too bad to actually knit your own lace top because you're not knitting a solid piece of fabric. You're doing a lot of like yarn overs and like there's a lot of gapping and a lot of the drape is doing the heavy lifting for you. So for me, I've chosen the Partition Pullover by James N. Watts. He is well regarded in the community for his lace and for his mesh, and he's been doing the lace mesh thing for a long time. He's had skin in the game. It's mesh, but not exactly the same shoulder construction. So if that is important to you, then I guess like go browse elsewhere for all the other millions and millions of mesh patterns out there. But for me, I trust the designer and I think the overall effect is going to be fairly similar and you can achieve it definitely for a better price. Next, I have the Rowanna dragon printed, Rowanna dragon printed backless knit. Now, I don't like the printed thing. Again, I'm not against a print. I'm not someone who is like anti-print. I do think prints can be difficult and depending on the kind of vibe that you want to give off, I'm not saying that they always look amazing. However, I will say for a fuck-ass $70, I want something more than 50% polyester, 26% polyamide, 18% acrylic, and 5% wool. That is genuinely pathetic, and shame on you. Disturbia, I'm disturbed. I'm disturbed. I like the idea that it is an alt-coded graphic. I like graphics. I love graphics. I could talk about like cool graphic pieces, and if you want a different pattern roundup on cool graphic pieces, let me know. But for this, generally theme silhouette, I chose the Zableye vest by June Ong. I think this was pretty good. I like the graphic, I like the boxy fit. This is actually something that I want to knit this summer because I want to knit it in a cotton and create a cotton vest that is going to have basically the same feeling of a graphic t-shirt, but in a vest format. I've never actually done two-stranded color work in cotton, so if y'all have any experience with that, let me know. I'm a little bit worried about the yarns not meshing well together because obviously you don't have the felting, but it would also be an amazing piece for the fall, right? So if you wanted to save this for autumn and do like a wool version, that would also be sick. But I've never knit from this designer before, and I think they only have a few pieces out, but this one I have thought about for a long time. So I'm ready to just finally get it out of my system and to actually make it because it looks amazing. I anticipate it will be amazing. I think it will be a great dupe for the graphic. However, if you like the backless piece of this vest and you're not that interested in the graphic and it's more about the silhouette for you, I have another idea, which is the Breezy back blouse by Wool and Beyond. Now, Wool and Beyond is a pretty popular designer. I personally have knit one or two things from them and I feel like they were okay. I wasn't like super happy with the translation or whatever, but again, that was when I was in my first year of knitting, and it probably was a mix of me being very new to constructions and everything, and also because they do quite innovative silhouettes. But they have this beautiful backless top. You can definitely see the appeal of this, specifically in the summertime. If you want a little bit more backflow, I think it would be, right now, for me to wear a backless top right now, oh, incredible. I would really like kill for that. So I actually might make both. I don't believe this one is knit in cotton because I think it's more like a winter garment, which is funny because like in the winter you probably want your back to be covered. But I don't see a reason why you couldn't play around. You might get a different drape fit, but overall I do think this general idea of like a cool backless top fits that Rowanna dragon vest fairly well. Next, I have the Cherith Ballroom Sleeve Pointel Stripe Jumper. Now this pointel situation is obviously really popular right now, and I think that's fair. This is a $75 sweater for a 79%, so almost 80% cotton, 30% nylon blend. Now that makes sense more so than anything else we've been looking at, but again, 70% cotton, okay, sorry, 80% cotton. Wait, the math is not mathing here. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have to post the picture because I clearly typed this out wrong. But anyway, I have a Cheryl Mokhtari pattern. This is the mod sweater. Generally what I was looking for was the paneling. So I think there's a couple of things that I'm looking at overall, which is the silhouette and then the overall design feature. And for me, I liked the paneling kind of textural situation. And again, part of the other thing I was thinking about was the Salty Days sweater, but I felt like the shape of that one was not quite right and it wasn't quite as delicate, and generally the pattern was not the same. But I do like the idea of knitting this in a cotton, and maybe even like a cotton tencel or a cotton polyamide or cotton, yeah, whatever blend. Like you could do a similar thing. I think it would maybe run you a little bit more affordable to knit it yourself, but I'm not really sure. I have just a couple of things that I would say about making alterations. The first thing I would say is make some rapid increases right before your cuff, and then rapidly decrease to get that like balloon shape if you like the balloon shape, because again, that's the one thing that's like not exactly the same. This one is more a traditional sleeve, and the one from Disturbia obviously is called balloon sleeve jumper. I personally, I'm like neither here nor there when it comes to a balloon sleeve. I like a balloon sleeve sometimes. I know they can be a trendy element. Right now they're not like particularly on trend. I just finished a balloon sleeve sweater and I like it. I like that it's like that. But I do also totally like a straight sleeve sweater. So if I were to knit this, which I very much so could see myself knitting, I would definitely do it in just a regular straight sleeve. But I did want to give you the option. I don't think a balloon sleeve would be very difficult to add into your design. Next, I have the Anais long line crochet maxi cardigan for $82. This is finally clocking in at 100% cotton. That is actually really surprising because we're talking about, again, a long line cardigan. Which I guess would be heavy. So as a knitter, I'm going to be looking for something that is like maybe a cotton wool or a lightweight cotton, so that way it's not going to be way too heavy. But I have here the Garden Cardigan by Anna Strict. I like this. I think there's no buttons on the button band, so you just knit all the way down, assuming that you knit the button band as you knit, or maybe you pick up on the way back. I'm not sure because I haven't knit this, and I don't believe it says so on the pattern outline, but I will double check. But I think overall what you're looking for is a long line cardigan with some design features, again, very similar to that long line cardigan we saw above. I'm looking for ease. I'm looking for something that's going to give me the general effect. I'm looking for color. So that's my dupe for you. I think this is not going to be a particularly difficult silhouette to achieve. Next, we have the Cadmium Pointel Knit Cardigan. This one was actually very interesting. Unfortunately, it's $80 for 44% acrylic, 29% polyester, and 27% polyamide. There's literally no natural fiber in this whatsoever. What are we doing? It's an $80 sweater. In this economy, when gas is $5 a gallon in New Jersey, I don't think so. Like, that's not good for me. I don't fuck with that. So I'm gonna say I like this. I think it's really cute. I think the actual shape of the cardigan is pretty timeless. And again, I love a picot edge. I think it's so delicate, so sweet. Really what is going for it is that it's a black cardigan. It's nothing crazy. For $80, I don't like the fact that it's 44% acrylic, 29% polyester, 27% polyamide. There's literally no wool in this wool sweater. So for me, I'm knitting the Violetta cardigan by Alexandra Sołowianiuk. I don't know, it's Polish, it's very hard. But yeah, this is a very typical, again, cardigan with beautiful cables, light, nice, lacy, nice lace texture. I think it doesn't have the exact definition of pointel, but I think generally when I'm looking at the piece, I wouldn't really be able to be like, oh, this is clearly like missing the pointel part of the texture cardigan. And again, if you're knitting it in a darker color, it's more about the silhouette, it's more about the details and the finishes. And of course, when we're talking about alternative clothing, and so much of it is not based on color palette, especially if you're one of the folks who does like the mostly all black situation, which like, yeah, that's a lot of us, right? When you're doing that, you really need to focus on your silhouette and your fit and your finishes and your fabric, because those things are going to carry your wardrobe forward, and not things like trends and like the newest it item that is like, you know, gonna be a flash in the pan and then you're gonna have to replace it in a year, because that's just like not the point of what's going on here. So I just think it's absolutely insane that they're charging $80 for basically black plastic. Like, it just drives me crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna knit this version. Again, now that we've learned how to do the modified hem to have the picot edge, feel free to swap with literally any other cardigan and just do a little bit of a picot edge. I think that scallop is really sweet, very cute. I would do it maybe even on the collar and the hemline and literally everything. Just picot everything. I think that would be adorable, and you would get a nice texture, and the finishes would just look a little bit more polished if you did it yourself. Just take things into your own hands is what I'm learning. It's very punk. It's very punk. Okay, we are down to the wire now. I have the Methydra bug printed lounge knit top for $70. We've got 60% cotton, 30% polyamide, 10% wool. Yes, it is a 70% natural fiber piece. However, this is like a loungewear top. I'm not even gonna lie, this is like barely even a sweater. So it does make me sick to my stomach to like recommend a fully stranded colorwork sweater right now, but I am going to recommend the Ants in a Row raglan. This is by Leaf Hopper Knits. It's not a one-to-one dupe. I'm sorry. I think the first thing is like this cute little Frankie's bikinis like jersey thing, and it's like, we're not going to have that right now. Ants are just a little bit niche, but I do like the bugs. I love the motif of the ants. So even though we're not dealing with a one-to-one, I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring and give you a suggestion to try the ants raglan. I wanted to do an ants raglan knit along last year when I was in a book club, and we never got around to doing it because like people were just knitting on different things, but I do think it's really fucking sick. It's really sick. I love it. I really think that this could be the one if you were like looking for a bug motif. If you have other bug motif items, let me know. I know Leaf Hopper Knits, like just in general, does like really amazing. I don't know if they're like a naturalist or like a bug person. What is that called? I know the word. I'm sorry. I'm gonna sound really like ignorant right now because I don't know the word for like someone who studies insects right now. It starts with an E. Entomologist? Etymologist? It's not the word for etymology, it's the word thing. It's the other word for bugs. And I'm more of a word person, so this is frustrating. But anyway, I know this person has incredible, incredible designs. So if you're not just specifically into the ants on a log kind of motif, definitely check the other pieces out. Like they have sick patterns. Next, I have the Splinter Stripe Knit Flare Sleeve Crop Sweater in brown. Which is like not a sexy name whatsoever. This is a $63 sweater. Okay, so our prices are going down a little bit. It's 54% acrylic, 32% polyester, 10% wool, and 4% elastane. We are looking at a 10% wool garment for $60. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, I have, again, from Kolibri, a Roni sweater. This is one that is popping off on Ravelry right now. Not in any of the crowds that I'm seeing on my actual podcasting site. So like when I'm watching videos, yes, I watch a lot of people who are all different ages, all different gender presentations and style presentations. But again, I'm watching a lot of like 26 to 32 year olds. And I do see the Roni represented on Ravelry more than I do represented on knitting YouTube podcasts. But I've heard some of my knitting friends talk about this pattern. So I want to throw it in the ring because as someone who, I guess like, the way that something is presented tells me whether or not it's for me, right? And like the ants raglan is definitely presented as more like for me than this sweater, but I do think it will give you a very similar effect. You can definitely do the same color scheme that they've done in the Splinter Stripe Knit Flare Sleeve Crop Sweater, but I actually think it would be cute in black. I think it'd be cute in any combination of colors that you particularly like to wear. So for me, I might do like a purpley, blacky gray combination. You might actually like it in the original earthy brown. If you are like an earthy brown kind of alt dresser, I think that's particularly cute. It's giving very unif. I personally don't feel like I look very good in that color scheme, so I don't do it, but I actually think this would be very, very easy to modify to match the original inspiration if you just don't knit a tight cuff, but you knit straight all the way down, or even do like a slight bit of increasing at the very, 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 very end, right? You just add a couple of stitches in to get a little bit of that flare in. I think you could get a very, very cute sweater. Next, I have the Calliope wrap over cropped knit sweater with brooch. Okay, so I'm not gonna give you a brooch recommendation because I don't have a brooch to give you, but you can thrift a brooch. You can find a brooch. You probably already have a brooch, or you might have even made a brooch because you are cool, and I'm sure you can do that. But for $68, we have a 60% cotton and 40% acrylic, yet again, cotton acrylic blend, but thank you, this time it is mostly cotton. But yeah, a sweater I think could do like a great dupe. For $70, yeah, this is also like not even a full sweater. So for $70, you could definitely get like more headway into a piece that if you wanted to do half cotton, half acrylic, definitely very doable. For me, myself, I don't really like that much acrylic in my sweaters. I will do like a little bit of acrylic, but like if I'm knitting my own stuff, I would rather it be vast majority, like I'm talking 70% plus natural fiber. It's just my whole thing. But by all means, whatever you feel like would be appropriate is totally fine. Next, I have the Wren Floral Embroidered Funnel Neck Shrug. This one makes me angry, okay? Stay with me here. It's $64 for 55% acrylic, majority acrylic, 45% cotton. So it's a minority natural fiber material, and it's a freaking shrug. A shrug is literally just sleeves and a neck hole. There's like literally nothing else going on there. I cannot believe, like there is a piece of my soul that has like died a little bit knowing that they're charging a whole sweater price for literally just sleeves. I like, it makes me sick to my stomach. I have two ideas for you: the Not-I crop sweater by, again, Eggo Knits, or the Eve shrug by Sweater Babe. Now, I've mentioned the Eve shrug. One thing I will say is it doesn't have like a proper neckline or like neck hole here, but you could pick up an edge and add it if you like really wanted the collar thing up here instead of just the little like cute thing on the side. I wore a shrug to work today. I thought it was really cute. I love a shrug. I think a shrug is gorgeous for just like covering up your little arms, or even adding an extra layer to an outfit that would give you more textural interest than just a long sleeve dress. So for me, shrugs are very functional, even in the spring, even in transitional weather, especially for me, like working in an office or like going in and out of air conditioned spaces. Sometimes a shrug is exactly the final layer that you need. Not for $65, not for $65 and for majority plastic. That's actually ridiculous. Sleeves are so fast to knit, they're just annoying. But the idea that they are charging that much money for literally machine knit sleeves made out of plastic is like driving me up the fucking wall right now. I cannot believe that they're doing that. It's like genuinely, if there's one thing you knit on this list, please let it be sleeves that they're trying to charge you $65 for. That's actually like genuinely deranged of them. I don't like that they've done that at all. Disturbia, count your days. That's actually insane. Okay, and the last thing I have for you is the hooked pointelle short sleeve crop. This is a $60 top that is actually made with, believe it or not, 100% cotton. So we're leaving it on a great note. Thank you, Disturbia. We have finally heard you answer the prayers. I actually even feel like more tencel or more rayon would have been okay here, but like somehow we really just leaned into like the polyamide, acrylic, polyester trifecta, the holy trinity of like terrible plastic fabrics. There's two things that I want to say about this top, which is I like the t-shirt style and I like that it's got the lace kind of like detail on the scallop edge. Two ideas for you. The Sylvan by Natasha Hornsby. Hornsby? I think it's Hornsby. It has more lace throughout. Second idea is the Cloud Break Tee by Wool and Pine. This is also a newer pattern that's popping up on Ravelry, and that one has more of the scalloped edge detail. That is the end of my list. This is going to be a beast to edit, and I feel like ripping off all of my clothing right now and soaking in a Nordic ice bath because it is so hot I can like barely stand to hear myself talk, which is crazy because usually I don't mind it at all. But yeah, that is everything for today. I hope this was helpful, and more than anything, I want to reiterate, alternative cultures are political. Part of that politics includes being anti-establishment, being anti-capitalist, really pushing back on the idea that like corporations can and will run your life, and also that subcultures are aesthetic first and foremost, which they are not. Of course, like I'm gonna get off my high horse. I'm like not the like, I'm not the witch police. I'm not gonna go around being like, hey, if you like want to dress like this, you have to like feel a certain way. But I do think we vote with our dollars, and especially as hand knitters who are already doing this, I'm really happy to make this resource because I didn't really like have a place to look for a consolidated list of cool goth clothes, alternative clothes, edgy clothes for hand knitters. There's a lot for crocheters for whatever reason, but not enough for knitters. And specifically talking about retail sites that target us like 30-year-old alternative people who have to wear heels and go to work and like wear dress shirts and wear slacks. And I actually really like Disturbia. I buy their coats, their pants, their bags, not their shoes. I'm more of a Doc Martens girly myself, but like I like my wardrobe. I like the stuff that I buy. I'm not against it. I just think for certain things like knitwear, if we're already in this intersection of being able to make stuff, you know, why not like spend a little time and effort to rethink what is possible. When I started looking at these patterns, I did not expect to find the designers that I did. I thought that I would be leaning more so on like the crazy alternative, like, you know, more out there designers. Shout out to like Be Creative Knits. Like, first of all, she follows me a little. Rocket Scientist follows me on social media. Like, ah! The actual clothing they're selling online isn't actually that outlandish. So it was really nice to actually look at these designers and have a heart-to-heart, really like sit down realization that these like very unassuming knitting patterns that are knit in colors that I'm now gravitating towards, and in styles and in accessories and in situations that don't necessarily look alt-coded. It's all paint. It's all a fresh coat of the landlord special. And if you can do it yourself, please do. Let me know what you think of this video format. This took forever, and I'm saying this preemptively because I did it last time and then I lost my footage and it was devastating. I mourned it for weeks. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you have more retail sites that you want me to review, because I'm sure there are a ton. And it's my mission to bring patterns to the people. We need to start knitting this stuff. I'm not saying that I'm against buying these things from companies. I just am against buying it at an unreasonable price point given the unreasonable quality and materials that are going into it. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was useful. Thank you, thank you, thank you for hanging out with me. Let me know what you are going to knit on. I think I'm going to do the zableye vest. I think that one's going to be on the list for sure. And then we'll take it from there. Alrighty guys, I will see you on the next one. Bye!